Bigger worlds, bigger maps, bigger quests. It doesn't always work for me. And chances are it's the same for you. Sometimes I just don't want my next game to become my entire personality for the next 3 months. Sometimes I just want a great adventure that I can actually finish in maybe just a couple of days. So in today's video, we're talking about JRPGs that you can actually finish without a lifelong commitment. You know, sometimes you just need something that's not super long. So I can't wait to tell you guys about some of my favorite games that fit that category. So before we get to that, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave your thoughts down below. What games would you recommend that kind of fit this criteria? And let's get to the first one, which is a great one that I can't wait to talk more about. What if Squaresoft decided to make a JRPG but crossed it with Resident Evil? Well, that's basically Parasite Eve. And today it feels unlike anything else the company has ever made. And I do plan on doing one of my I finally played videos for this because having recently played it, I do want to share my full opinions on this. But here we follow a police officer, Aya Brea, through a horrifying biological outbreak that's turning New York City into something straight out of a nightmare. It's part RPG, part survival horror, part cinematic thriller, and somehow all three of these pieces fit together so well. What I love about Parasite Eve is how direct it is, how each chapter pushes this whole story forward. Every different location introduces something new and unique, and the combat evolves without ever becoming overwhelming. There isn't a huge open world full of distractions or dozens of systems to compete for your attention. What's happening here is a very great and compact experience for what this game offers. It's one of those rare games where you can sit down on a Friday night, get completely absorbed by the story, and maybe even finish it by Saturday night as well. So I really like this one, and I wonder why Square Enix never really did anything else with this series beyond the third birthday, which is kind of like the black sheep of the series. But more on that in another video, another time. Before the recent wave of indie tributes in the last few years, if you had ever looked at Chrono Trigger and wished someone would make a modern RPG that captured that same feeling, Am Setsuna is probably the closest anyone had come when it released. It certainly doesn't try to reinvent the wheel. Instead, it leans into everything people loved about the golden age of JRPGs. You've got turn-based combat, small cast of characters, a world that's really genuinely beautiful without being super huge or over-bloated or overinflated, and an emotional story that is very similar to Final Fantasy X, and it never loses sight of the overall journey here as well. And one thing I love about this game is the all-piano soundtrack that gives the entire game this melancholic atmosphere that sticks with you long after you've finished. I know I listened to it long after I played this game, and it just stuck with me, and I occasionally think about it from time to time. Now, I don't think that Am Setsuna reaches the same heights as the same classics that inspired it, and that's okay. It certainly doesn't have to, but what makes it worth playing is that it understands what JRPGs do best sometimes. You know, you don't need a lot of side content or a massive story stretching beyond its natural conclusion. It stays focused from beginning to end. And it's a wonderful reminder that sometimes the smaller, more personal adventures can leave just as much of an impact as a big one. Before Earthbound became one of the most beloved cult classics in gaming, there was Mother, or as we know it now in the West, Earthbound Beginnings. Instead of castles and dragons, you're exploring suburban neighborhoods, small towns, zoos and graveyards and department stores. Your enemies aren't monsters either. Hippies, possessed cars, zombies, or whatever the heck a Starman is supposed to be. Even back in 1989 with the original NES release, this game was doing things that no other JRPG was brave enough to try. And that's exactly why I think that this fan remake is such a fantastic way to experience this game today. Bringing the original NES game to the Earthbound Super Nintendo engine, it keeps everything that made the original so ambitious, the quirky humor, the emotional story, and that unmistakable sense of childlike adventure, but smooths over many of the rough edges that really made this game hard to recommend in the first place. And the result is a game that feels remarkably modern despite its age with this remake. Now, what surprised me the most when I finally played this game, and I covered this in a video last week, is how quickly I fell into the rhythm of this game. And I finished it over a weekend because it was just so fun. More than anything, Earthbound Beginnings proves that personality will always outlast scale. And like I said before, if you want to learn more and actually how to play this, check out my recent video covering this. It's a really great one. Every genre has a game that started it all, and for JRPGs, this is it. It's easy to look at Dragon Quest 1 today and think, oh, this is too basic. There's just one hero, one quest that's That's it. But that's exactly why it was so fascinating. Before job systems and hour-long cutscenes became the norm, Dragon Quest understood that the heart of an adventure was simple. Go do your thing, get stronger, and beat the heck out of the bad guys, and save the princess if you can while doing it. And this HD 2D remake breathes so much new life into that idea. It doesn't bury the original under layers of new mechanics or trying to reinvent it into something that it's not. Instead, it just doubles down on what made it special in the first place, but with some new quality of life things in the beautiful HD 2D visuals. Exploring the world feels so fun. Every new piece of equipment matters because remember, you're a one-man army here, and each dungeon feels like another serious step towards confronting the evil Dragon Lord. Modern RPGs sometimes feel like they're afraid that you'll get bored if there's not another checklist around the corner or another marker telling you exactly where you need to go. Dragon Quest 1 didn't have that problem when it released, and this new adventure, this reimagined one here with the HD 2D remake, is just more proof that the original adventure itself was enough for gamers back in the 80s, and it still is now. I've mentioned this before in my beginner JRPGs video, and this is certainly one that you don't have to be a newbie to enjoy, and Super Mario RPG is just that. It takes everything that makes the genre so satisfying, leveling up, finding new stuff, building a party, and strips away all the unnecessary barriers here. It makes it easy to enjoy because, I mean, chances are you know who Mario is. Battles are super quick, exploration is so much fun, even with a bit of platforming woven into it, and the game introduces new mechanics at exactly the right pace. Then you add timed button presses into combat, but what really makes Super Mario RPG timeless is its personality, and oh my goodness does it have that, and so much more. So whether you're teaming up with all your characters, Bowser, Mallow, and Geno, or stumbling across one of the game's countless little jokes and funny side characters, there's always something memorable happening. It's impossible to stay in one place for too long because the game is always pushing you forward to the next great idea or the next funny moment. So whether you choose the original on the Super Nintendo or the remake, this is one of those rare JRPGs that feels almost impossible to put down. And it certainly doesn't overstay its welcome either. Now hang on, before we get any further, I want to let you guys know that almost 85% of the people that watch my channel on the regular aren't subscribed. So if you would love to hang with me each and every week with every new video on top 10s, retrospectives, reviews, deep dives, all that stuff, and maybe even news as well, I would love to have you. So don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And let's get to one of my other favorite games here that you can actually maybe even finish in a couple days, Golden Sun. I still think it's kind of ridiculous that Golden Sun 1 and 2 ran on a Game Boy Advance. And look, I know I talk about them a lot, but I can't help but feel that they're maybe even just a little bit underrated to an extent. But Golden Sun feels like somebody somehow squeezed a full-blown console RPG into a little cartridge. The real star, though, is the synergy system. Your magic is actually woven into the world itself. You'll freeze puddles to create pathways, move statues, reveal things, and solve environmental puzzles using the exact same abilities you rely on in battle. It makes exploration feel just as rewarding as combat because the two systems are constantly feeding into one another. Now, technically, Golden Sun 1 and 2, The Lost Age, are longer than some of the other games on this list, especially when you play them back to back, but they never felt bloated at all. Every few hours, you're discovering a new Djinn, unlocking a new synergy ability, visiting another memorable location, or learning something new about the story. These games always reward your curiosity, and that's why they're so easy to binge. And again, they're not necessarily short when played back to back, but they are just so incredibly well paced. Make sure you play these if you haven't already. Most JRPGs ask you to commit to one enormous adventure. Live Alive asks you to commit to 8 completely different ones that are all really bite-sized in their own way. That's what makes it one of the most unique JRPGs ever created. One chapter you are, hanging out in prehistoric times and there's not a single line of dialogue. And the next moment you're in feudal Japan where stealth is just as important as combat. And then you're in the Wild West, and then the distant future, or fighting your way through a martial arts tournament. Every chapter has its own vibe, and because of that, this game is always going to surprise you. Now, the HD 2D remake here makes this experimental classic so much more easy to appreciate than ever. Visual upgrade is stunning, the soundtrack is really good, and all the modern quality of life improvements help smooth out the experience without sacrificing what really made the original so special to begin with. And what I love most about this game is that it absolutely does not overstay its welcome. Every scenario explores its central idea, tells the story, and then you're done. By the time one chapter ends, you're already excited to see what the next one has in store. It's one of the clearest examples on this list that variety can be just as important as runtime when it comes to respecting a player's time. And if you'd like me to do a full-blown video on this game, why I still love Live Alive so much, let me know down below in the comments, because I have a script ready and I just need to film it. Now this is a game I put off playing for years and years, and I finally got to it last year and loved every second of it. Suikoden 1 centers around building up a rebellion as the son of a loyal soldier, trying to fight against a corrupt empire. That sounds like the setup for a 60-hour epic, and the scope definitely earns that comparison. I mean, you've got a headquarters that grows into a full base as your army does, a cast large enough to make the world feel alive, but it actually really doesn't take 60 hours to get there. It's more like 20-ish. A lot of that comes down to how efficiently everything moves. Dungeons are pretty straightforward with some little padding. Random encounters never feel excessive. Turn-based battles also let underlevel party members catch up in just a few minutes rather than hours of grinding. And the remaster here, which is what we're covering today in this video, I mean, the auto battle option speeds things up even further, so you're not spending time on fights that don't really matter. Aside from normal battles, there's also these large-scale rock, paper, scissors type battles, and then these showdown style battles that do have significant story outcome should you make a wrong choice. Like I said before, the whole thing clocked in right around 20 hours for me, so you don't have to chase the full 108 character roster to get the best ending, which to be honest isn't really that much of a difference or really worth chasing everybody down, but if you're a completionist you can. So Suikoden 1 gives you the full scale and the stakes of a massive JRPG without really asking for the time to get there. It's really great and compact adventure. Now this might not be my game of the year, but it's easily one of my favorite surprises of the year so far. The Adventures of Elliot follows an adventurer who stumbles into doorways across different ages of the world, and time travel serves the story more than it serves the gameplay, and the narrative takes its time paying things off. Some threads don't necessarily click until the end, but it's airtight, and when it lands, it lands. And I know some of you will come at me in the comments for this not being a stereotypical JRPG, and fine, whatever, but it's adjacent, and I know you'll all like it, so there you go. Combat is like straight up Zelda stuff, real time, sword and shield, boomerang, bombs, arrows. Think of A Link to the Past. If you like that, this is going to feel instantly familiar. And exploration is where it really earns its keep though. I mean, the world is full of small detours and optional trails, and all that stuff rewards curiosity without really ever turning into a checklist, although if you're going to play it to completion, yes it will. You're not punished for playing linearly, but the game is clearly built for people who like to wander. And look, that's really the point here, because it can clock around 20 to 25, maybe even stretching a little bit further if you want to see the game fully complete, or if you just want to roll credits and not know the full thing, expect around 10 to 12 hours or so, and that's exactly the right length for something like this. Any longer and the time travel structure does kind of start repeating on itself, since revisiting some areas across different eras does lose its novelty the more you do it, but at around just north of 20 hours, it never truly overstayed its welcome for me, so definitely check this one out if you haven't yet. And of course, there's one game that I have to include on this list because it really is the best example of a perfect JRPG that you can beat in just a couple of days and doesn't overstay its welcome. Chrono Trigger has been called one of the greatest games ever made for decades now, and one of the biggest reasons is its pacing. It's never wasting your time, it moves super quick, and every area introduces something completely fresh, and there's always another surprise for you as well waiting around the corner. It definitely has the scope of a huge JRPG, but somehow maintains the momentum of a much shorter game, and I would say it's really hard to pull that off, and it does it so well. And to me, that's what this entire list has been about. None of these games are great because they're shorter than, like, you know, your big giant epics like Persona and whatever. They're great because a lot of games seem to just not really respect your time and be really just bloated in terms of pacing and design and all that kind of stuff. So every hour should matter when you play a game and feel impactful. Every dungeon should have a purpose. Every story beat should earn its place and earn your attention. And Chrono Trigger, in my opinion, is probably the best example of that. So that's my list, and I'm sticking to it. So thank you so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and let me know what games you would recommend as, you know, short weekend JRPGs or 1 week JRPGs. These shorter games make me feel like I'm still completing something and enjoying something as well without, again, committing my entire personality to it for the next couple months. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you guys in another video very soon. Bye-bye.